But right now you're listening to Otherwise here on SAFM, Talking Women. And our next woman that we're going to be talking to, she is Aisling Foley, and she's all the way from Ireland. She was born in Cork, but she moved to Dublin, and now she's right here in Cape Town. And she is also project manager of Amatemba. It's an organisation who work with Hom of Hope, which in turn cares for children with fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. Hi, Aisling, lovely to have you with us.
Hello, Nancy. Nice to meet you.
Did you come here specially to be working at Amatemba, Hom of Hope, or did you come here and find them?
No, I came here specifically. I don't have any education background. I worked as a lawyer for 15 years in Ireland. And I think always in the back of my head, I felt I was extremely lucky to have been born into a very good family, have good health and have stability. And after 15 years, I decided it was time maybe to pay back for some of my good fortune. I had been to South Africa for 6 weeks working as a volunteer. And when the recession hit in Ireland, I thought it was a good time to come and work abroad. And I specifically came to work for Hom of Hope.
Gosh. How did you find Hom of Hope, or did they find you?
I initially came through an organisation called Aviva, who do placements for volunteers in various projects, animals, children, etc. And that's initially how I came to work for Hom of Hope for 6 weeks. I went back into Ireland. I worked for a year, but I couldn't really get the kids and the work that Hom of Hope did out of my mind. So I decided to leave my job and came and moved here, well, permanently, or semi-permanently if I can.
And I'm sure they're very pleased to have you.
Yes, I think
you couldn't
they are.
You couldn't get the idea of the work that they do out of your mind. Tell us about it. What do they do?
Well, Hom of Hope was set up about 7 years ago by a South African couple, Eleanor and Richard Brooke, who initially took children into their own home as foster parents, and they subsequently adopted a child with fetal alcohol syndrome. And then basically it grew, and they left Johannesburg, moved to Cape Town, and then they took children in on as a safety house. So children would come and live there for about 6 months, and then they would go to foster parents or a longer term home. But what they found was that basically about 70% of the children were suffering from fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. So for listeners who don't know what that is, it is basically mum drinking while she is pregnant, and the child is born permanently brain damaged. And obviously, depending on how much she drank and when she drank, etc., the children can be affected in different ways. So what we found about 2 years ago, when the children started getting older, was when they started going to school, that after about 1 year's schooling, they were struggling and they couldn't keep up in mainstream school. They have a lot of issues with concentration, memory, learning difficulties. And on top of that, most of them, I think about 80% of these children don't live with their birth parents. So they tend to also come from homes that are unstable, where there's been alcohol abuse and probably also sexual and physical abuse.
Which is one of the reasons why it's quite difficult to find homes, adoptive homes, foster homes.
Yes.
What happens to the children? What is Hom of Hope able to do for them?
Well, what we found with them is that because the children tend to have a lot of behavioural issues, and quite often when foster parents take on these children, they don't really know what they are taking on. So you'll find that after a year or two, the children are handed back because the parents can't really deal with them. So they end up in the system, going from one place to another place. Hom of Hope decided that they would essentially specialise in these children. And I myself spent about a year researching the condition and wrote about a 60-page handbook on how to care for children with fetal alcohol syndrome, and that is available to be downloaded from our website. And essentially we have spent so much time researching it and working with the children that we now have a lot of things in our foster homes with routines and consistency and certain discipline things that we find. And then as as I said, a year and a half ago, we decided to take the big step of opening a school. We do take about 25% children who have global development issues, but 75% of them have fetal alcohol syndrome. And to our knowledge, this is the first school in the world that has a specialisation in fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, and I think it's only right that it be started in Cape Town, because Cape Town has the biggest problem. Yes, we have potentially up to 25% of grade 1 children suffering from this condition, so it is a huge problem.
And very specialised educational methods, I would imagine, as well. Have you got specialised teachers?
Yes, we have a specialised curriculum which has been developed by our educational psychologist, and then we have very specific teaching methods. And also the physical setup of the school is very specific. The children work at individual desks, they have lots of breaks, they do a lot of individual therapy, and we also work on a kind of, Amatemba is an individualised learning centre, so each child is assessed when they come in, and then an individual education plan is designed for them. So classes have about 10 children, but each child is working on their own individual level. So that works better for them, because it means if some children can work quicker than others, that's fine, but the child who can't work quicker, it's not in a normal class where they get left behind. And typically these children drop out of school at about 9 or 10 years old, then get involved in drugs and alcohol and crime, and basically the circle keeps on going.
How many children can you take, and up to when do you take them? I mean, when I say do they go up to matric, in some cases maybe they'll never do matric, but they can do other things.
Yeah, our youngest child is 2 years old. We have a preschool campus. At the moment we have 6 children there because we're still waiting for our registration. We feel that the younger we can get the children, the better impact we will have, and they will go through the system a little bit easier. Our oldest child at the moment is 13. So the school is sort of growing as the children grow, but like you said, we're very aware that at some point some children will continue on the academic route, maybe with some help, and the others most likely not. And in that case, that's when the school will start having a vocational side. So cooking, hairdressing, mechanics, carpentry, whatever we think that the children are good at, we will start focusing on that. So we will probably start running into that in maybe 3 or 4 years' time when the kids hit 15.
Organically, because there is a place for everybody on the planet, one way or another, isn't there? The fact that it's called Amatemba is the name of the school, but the fact that we're talking about Hom of Hope, and what you said right at the beginning is that it's permanent brain damage. It's never going to get any better.
No, there's no cure.
But do you feel nonetheless that there's still hope, having written your piece that you've written, you still feel that that child's life can be impacted positively?
Yes, certainly, and we have done 1 full year of the programme. We have a report done now which shows that every child has improved, not only academically, but also these children have a lot of behavioural problems and social problems, which means that they can't really function in society. They have trouble taking social cues, problems controlling their emotions, etc. So part of Amatemba is not just academic, but also equipping the children with skills that they need so that they can live a semi-independent life. And we have seen, and we have the evidence to show that our programme is successful, and we have seen every child improve over the last year, and we hope as time goes on and we learn more and we record what we're learning, that it will only continue to improve as time goes on. And Amatemba is also COSA for our hope, so we really feel that these children can learn. Some of our children who were deemed non-educable a year or 2 ago are now starting to read. So we really believe that every child can learn, and we do believe that they are our future. So,
are you going to stay?
I hope
you
so.
Started something fairly long term.
I'm currently renewing my visa at the moment, so I'm hoping that the government will see that I am adding something to this problem and I can bring my skills and use them here. So I'm hoping they will renew my visa, and yes, that I will continue to stay here. I see, I suppose, my medium-term future here with these children. Yes.
And also, what's being created here at Hom of Hope is sort of like a plan that could be started in a number of different places, as you say, here in the Western Cape. Plenty of opportunity for this sort of thing, sadly. But is that also the idea?
Yes, that is exactly our idea. We have attached ourselves onto a local school called West Coast Christian School, and they have very kindly given us 2 classrooms that we operate out of, and that is exactly what we're trying to do. We thought of building a big school and running it, but the costs were just going to be too expensive. So what we are now doing is we hope to perfect what we're doing at the moment, and then we are obviously in constant touch with the Department of Education, who've obviously oversee what we do. And once we can perfect this model, we think this is basically a best practice model for educating fetal alcohol children and other special needs children. And yes, we would definitely hope then to attach ourselves and go into partnerships with other schools. And yeah, I mean, with finances being no problem, this is something we could roll out across the country, because we know that we have about 60 or 70,000 of these children being born every year, on top of possibly 5 million people who suffer from the condition.
Your lips to God's ears, and hopefully it will all happen. And I must say, if I were able to press the M&G button for Unsung Heroes, I'd probably do it right now, and maybe Hom of Hope can be included there.
I think our CEO should definitely, who started all of this, is one of the unsung heroes.
I'm going to give out the details right now. So I think if anybody would like to know a little bit more and read your document, www.homofhope.co.za, homofhope.co.za, and they're in Tableview, Aisling Foley. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.